The scent of bleach and pine cleaner clung to my skin as I dropped my keys onto the chipped kitchen counter. It was almost midnight. My back ached, my hands were raw, and all I wanted was a hot shower and 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep before doing it all over again. This was the life my family thought I never escaped from. The paycheck-to-paycheck housekeeper, always on the edge of burnout. To them, I was the failure, the one who never amounted to anything. And for years, I let them believe it. I played the role they cast me in. Quiet, invisible, struggling. What they didn't know was that every mop I pushed, every toilet I scrubbed, was part of something much bigger. Something they could never have imagined. The flickering light on my answering machine blinked. 3 new messages. I pressed play and listened as the usual voices filled the silence. "Hey, Mandy," my sister Lisa chirped, sugar-coated and fake. "Just wanted to remind you that Dad's birthday dinner is this Saturday. Don't forget. It's at 6, not 7 like last year. Try not to be late this time, okay?" Message 2. "Mand, it's Mom. We're ordering from that nice steak place for the dinner, so maybe eat before you come. I know it's probably not in your budget, sweetie." Message 3. My father's gruff voice. "Don't bring one of your weird thrift store gifts. Just show up, say happy birthday, and don't embarrass anyone." I stood there in silence, the sting of their words sharper than I wanted to admit. They thought they were being helpful, merciful even, but every word carried a judgment, a reminder of where they thought I stood in life, beneath them, barely hanging on. They didn't know about the 4 companies I silently owned, or the fact that I had made my first million 5 years ago, or that just last week Forbes had contacted me for an exclusive feature. The hidden mogul who built an empire from the shadows. I hadn't responded yet. Not because I was hesitant, but because I was finally ready. And it all started 10 years ago, at that same dinner table where Dad would later say, "Pathetic girl, still cleaning other people's houses?" 10 years ago, I was 23, fresh out of a toxic relationship, broke and desperate. I'd dropped out of college to care for my grandmother, who had practically raised me. No one else in the family stepped up. They were too busy climbing their shiny ladders, finance, law, marketing, respectable careers. When Grandma passed, I was alone. No savings, no degree, and absolutely no direction. I took the only job I could get, cleaning houses. It started as a temporary thing, a way to pay rent. But one day, I cleaned for a woman named Evelyn Kane. She was kind, old money kind, and she saw something in me no one else ever did. "You're sharp," she said one day while I organized her chaotic filing system in less than an hour. "Why waste your brain on scrubbing floors?" I told her I didn't have the luxury of dreaming big. She laughed softly and handed me a book, The Lean Startup. I read it cover to cover that night. Then I read 5 more just like it. Something changed in me. I started waking up an hour earlier to read. I listened to podcasts while I cleaned. I paid attention to how successful people lived, what they outsourced, how they organized their lives. And slowly, a thought began to form. What if I created a business that did more than clean homes? What if I reimagined home services as something high-end, streamlined, tech-driven, designed for the exact people I was working for? So I did. I saved every extra dollar I could. I slept on a mattress on the floor in a shared apartment. I ate rice and eggs for months. And after a year of working 14-hour days, I launched Clarity Living, an elite home management company that offered everything from cleaning to concierge services, staffed by vetted professionals trained in discretion, organization, and luxury standards. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents. Not my siblings. I didn't want their doubts. I didn't need their voices in my head. I just worked. I signed my first client 6 weeks later, a tech investor in Beverly Hills. He referred me to 4 more. By year 2, I had a team of 12. Year 3, we expanded to New York. Year 5, I was clearing $10 million a year. But at family dinners, I still let Lisa brag about her advertising job. Still let Mom slip me coupons and Dad shake his head whenever I mentioned entrepreneur stuff. They thought I was weak, that I had given up. But I was building something far bigger than any of them imagined. And now, with the Forbes article set to air on live TV this Sunday, the same day as Dad's birthday dinner, the truth was about to crash down on them like a tidal wave. They wouldn't see it coming. And I wouldn't say a word until they saw my face on the screen, with the words, "Billionaire housekeeper turned CEO" right below it. The parking lot of the upscale Italian restaurant was already packed when I pulled in behind a sleek black Range Rover. I sat in my car for a moment, hands resting on the steering wheel, watching the valet shuffle back and forth under the soft glow of golden string lights. Technically, I didn't have to be here. I could have skipped the dinner entirely and let the Sunday morning news do the talking. But a part of me wanted to see their faces when it all unfolded. Wanted to remember every smirk and side eye so the moment of truth would land exactly the way it needed to. And besides, it was the last time they'd ever look at me like I was less. I stepped out of my car, a modest, older sedan I'd kept for appearances. No one would suspect the woman behind the wheel had a collection of luxury vehicles tucked away in a private garage across the city. I handed the keys to the valet with a nod and walked into the restaurant. "Mandy." Lisa's voice rang out like a chime dipped in fake sweetness. She stood up to greet me, arms open wide. "You're on time." "I'm shocked." I forced a smile. "Happy birthday, Dad." He barely looked up from the menu. "You look tired. Long day of cleaning?" And there it was. The jab. The line he'd been itching to throw the moment I walked in. He didn't even bother to hide the smirk. I felt the heat rise in my chest, but smiled instead. "You could say that." Mom leaned in to pat my hand. "We're just glad you could make it. We know your job keeps you busy." Busy, that's what she called overseeing 3 regional managers and negotiating contracts with luxury developers across 2 continents. But sure, busy. As the server came to take our orders, Lisa launched into another one of her monologues about her big pitch to a new client. Something about a tech brand and influencer outreach. She tossed her hair like it was a movie scene. "So," she said, turning to me, "how's the cleaning business?" I took a sip of my water. "It's growing." Dad snorted into his whiskey. "Must be nice not having to think. Just clean and go, simple life." There was a time when that would have broken me. When I would have gone home and cried into a pillow, wondering if I'd made a mistake by staying quiet. But not tonight. Tonight, I smiled and nodded. Simple, yes, but effective. The waiter returned with wine and appetizers, and the conversation shifted toward Olivia's new promotion at her marketing firm and Marcus's move into a bigger house. I listened patiently as they patted themselves on the back, making sure to throw an occasional pitying glance my way. It was almost theatrical. Then Lisa reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. "Did you guys see what's airing tomorrow on the Forbes Sunday Spotlight?" she said, scrolling. Apparently they're doing this huge profile on some self-made billionaire. A woman, too. Former housekeeper of all things. Can you believe that? I nearly choked on my drink. "What's her name?" I asked casually. She tilted the screen. "Mandy Reese." The table fell quiet for a beat. My mother blinked. "Mandy Reese?" "Wait," Marcus said slowly. "Isn't that—" "Same first name. Probably a coincidence," Dad interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "No way it's our Mandy." Lisa laughed. "Yeah, right. Can you imagine?" She pointed at me, her laughter rising. "From mop to millions. I mean, no offense, sis, but you're not exactly Forbes material." "No offense taken," I said with a small shrug. You never know who's out there building in silence. The irony of it was suffocating. They were sitting across from the woman they were about to watch on national television the very next morning. The woman they dismissed, diminished, and doubted. And they didn't have the faintest clue. The evening dragged on, filled with veiled insults, empty compliments, and overcooked steak. But I endured it all, because tomorrow everything would change. After we sang happy birthday and posed for photos, I stood to leave. Leaving already? Dad asked, cutting his tiramisu with the edge of his fork. Early day tomorrow, I replied. Work never stops. Still cleaning toilets? He smirked. I smiled. Something like that. As I walked to the door, Lisa called after me. Hey, bring gloves next time. You could clean my apartment while you're here. I stopped, turned slightly, and gave her the kind of smile that meant everything and nothing at once. See you tomorrow, I said. They thought I meant brunch, but I meant when their screens lit up with my face, when the world would know who I was, before my own family ever did, and when the Rolls-Royce parked out front would finally make sense. Sunday morning arrived crisp and clear, the sunlight spilling into my penthouse suite high above the city. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, coffee in hand, watching the world move below. Normally, Sundays were quiet for me, restful, but not today. Today was showtime. I turned up the volume on my TV. It was exactly 8:58 a.m. The countdown for the Forbes Sunday Spotlight ticked down in the corner of the screen. I'd seen the final cut of the segment, twice actually, but this time I wanted to watch it live. Not for me, but for them. Because I knew exactly what my family was doing right now. Dragging themselves out of bed, brewing coffee, nursing mild hangovers from the birthday wine, and flipping on the news just in time to see something that would shake them to their core. The intro music swelled. Today we bring you the story of a woman who redefined success, built a billion-dollar company from scratch, and kept it all a secret, even from her own family. Meet Mandy Reese, founder and CEO of Clarity Living. There it was, my name. My full name. Spoken with weight and reverence. I took a breath. On screen, the camera panned across our Manhattan headquarters. Sleek design, glass walls, a logo gleaming like gold. Then a shot of me, walking confidently through the lobby, dressed in a sharp white suit, heels clicking on marble floors. My voice played over the footage. People thought I was just a housekeeper. They didn't know I was building an empire. The segment continued, showcasing testimonials from clients, interviews with my executive team, even footage of the early days. Me scrubbing countertops, organizing storage closets, hand-printing flyers. Then came the money shot. A list of cities where Clarity Living now operated. New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, London, Dubai. 6 continents, over 300 employees, valued at $3.2 billion. I could imagine them now. Dad dropping his coffee mug, Lisa's jaw going slack, Mom gasping loud enough to wake the neighbors. I'd given no warning, no hint, not even a breadcrumb. Then the final scene played. Me stepping out of a black Rolls-Royce, sunglasses on, as a reporter asked, "Why keep it a secret for so long?" I turned to the camera and smiled. Because success doesn't need validation. And sometimes the sweetest part of the journey is watching the ones who doubted you realize they never really knew you at all. Fade to black. I didn't even have to wait 5 minutes. My phone exploded. Calls, texts, emails, voicemails, social media tags. And then the group chat started lighting up. Mom, Mandy, we just saw the news. Is this true? Lisa, wait, what? This is you? Why didn't you tell us? Marcus, holy, Mandy, you're on Forbes. How long has this been going on? Dad, we need to talk. Now I stared at the screen, letting the messages pile up. My coffee had gone cold, but I didn't care. I walked to the garage, phone still buzzing in my hand. My real car, a 2024 Rolls-Royce Ghost, gleamed beneath the overhead lights. I slid into the driver's seat and started the engine. They had questions. Of course they did, but I had answers. And today, they weren't going to hear them over text or in some awkward phone call. They were going to see them, feel them. Because today I was going to visit the same people who had laughed at me just hours ago, this time in a car they used to dream about. Wearing clothes from designers they couldn't pronounce. And walking in not as their family embarrassment, but as the very woman the entire world was suddenly talking about. As I drove through the suburbs toward my parents' house, I thought about the years I'd spent holding back. Every family dinner, every smug comment, every time I bit my tongue instead of revealing the truth. I didn't regret the silence. The anonymity gave me clarity, space to grow. But now it was time to speak with presence. I turned onto their street. The same tree-lined cul-de-sac I once left behind with a duffel bag and no plan. Kids played in front yards, neighbors watered lawns. I imagined the chatter that would spread once they saw the Rolls-Royce pull up. I parked in front of the house, took a breath, and stepped out into the sunlight. Mom opened the front door before I reached the steps. She looked pale, shocked, mascara slightly smudged. "Mandy," she whispered, "is it all true?" I smiled gently and held up my phone, where the Forbes article headline still glowed. "You tell me." The air inside the house felt heavier than usual, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Mom backed away as I stepped into the foyer, her eyes scanning me like she was trying to make sense of what she was seeing. I could tell she hadn't slept. Her blouse was wrinkled, her hair hastily pinned back, and her voice trembled as she asked, "Why didn't you tell us, Mandy?" Before I could answer, Dad appeared in the hallway. His eyes locked on mine, and for the first time in my life, he looked unsure of what to say. "Mandy," he started, "what the hell is going on?" I walked past them both and made my way into the living room, my heels clicking against the hardwood floor. I sat down on the same couch where I'd once curled up as a teenager, grounded for refusing to change my major. The same couch where Dad told me I'd wasted my life when I turned down a receptionist job at his friend's insurance firm. Now, I was worth more than his entire network of colleagues combined. Mom and Dad followed me in. Dad stayed standing, arms crossed, posture stiff. Mom sank into the armchair like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Lisa and Marcus arrived 15 minutes later, clearly after reading all the messages in the family group chat. Lisa looked flustered, her designer purse swinging from her arm like a prop she wasn't sure how to use anymore. "Mandy," she said, breathless, "this whole time, you've been, living a double life?" Marcus sat down across from me and blinked. "I Googled you. Mandy Reese. It's all real. You're clarity living." I nodded calmly. "Yes, I am." But you let us think you were struggling," Lisa said. "You let us believe you were broke." "No," I corrected her. "You chose to believe it. I never told you I was broke. I just didn't correct you when you assumed I was." "You drove that beat-up car," Dad snapped. "You wore thrift store clothes. You asked us to go easy on your birthday gifts. What were we supposed to think? That maybe I didn't care about appearances?" I offered. "That I didn't need validation through labels and luxury to know my worth?" Lisa scoffed. "That's rich, coming from someone who just rolled up in a Rolls-Royce." I leaned forward. "The car wasn't for me. It was for you, so you'd finally see me. Because let's be honest, if I had shown up in my work clothes from the company I own, or said I was investing in real estate across 3 countries, you wouldn't have believed me." Dad opened his mouth, but for once, nothing came out. "You know what really hurt?" I said quietly, eyes still on him. "It wasn't the assumptions. It was how easy it was for all of you to believe I had failed. How none of you ever asked what I was passionate about, what I was building. It was easier to mock the housekeeper than imagine I had dreams worth following." Silence. Then Marcus said, "But why keep it a secret? Why not tell us? We're your family." I turned to him slowly. "Remember when Grandma got sick? I dropped out of school to take care of her. You all told me it was irresponsible, that I was throwing away my future. But I didn't care. I owed her everything. She believed in me when no one else did. And when she passed, I had nothing. Not one of you offered help. Not a place to stay. Not even a word of encouragement." Mom flinched, but didn't deny it. So I started working. Cleaning houses. One of my clients saw something in me. She gave me a book and a chance. That chance became an idea. The idea became a company. The company became a global brand. I paused and let the silence stretch. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to fight for your approval. I wanted to build something for myself. And now that I have, now that the world knows, I wanted you to see it, not hear about it. See it. Lisa shifted in her seat. I thought you were just trying to find yourself. I found myself a long time ago, I said. You just never looked close enough to notice. Dad finally sat down, looking strangely small. So what now? You just rub it in our faces? No, Dad, I said, my voice steady. I'm not here to humiliate anyone. I'm here because, for once, I want you to really know who I am. And because tonight there's a dinner at the Paramount. Lisa's brows knit. The Paramount? That exclusive place with the 6-month wait list? I own it now, I said simply. And I've reserved it for us. Private chef, full staff, top floor. We're going to sit around a table again. But this time, the conversation will be different. Mom looked like she might cry. We don't deserve this. I smiled softly. Maybe not. But I didn't do all this to punish you. I did it to prove something. That success doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, builds, waits, and then it reveals itself. On its own terms. The elevator ride to the top floor of the Paramount was silent. My family stood around me, visibly uncomfortable in the mirrored lift, their reflections looking back at them like versions of themselves they didn't quite recognize. Even Lisa, who usually glowed in any social setting, clutched her purse like a security blanket, her eyes darting around the luxurious interior. She hadn't spoken since we arrived. When the elevator doors slid open, a private host greeted us with a polite smile. Welcome, Ms. Reese. The dining room is ready. We stepped into the space I had redesigned just 2 months ago. Glass walls overlooking the city skyline, a long black marble table glowing under soft pendant lights, a private string quartet playing faintly in the corner. The room was soaked in elegance, but it wasn't about wealth tonight. It was about clarity. They needed to see, without a shadow of a doubt, who I had become. The server gestured for everyone to take a seat. As we settled in, my mother leaned toward me. Mandy, this place is breathtaking. I nodded with a calm smile. It's my favorite view in the city. Reminds me of how far I've come. Dad cleared his throat, eyes roaming the room. This is a lot. It's not about showing off, I replied. It's about showing you what you never saw. The servers moved silently, placing down custom menus printed with each guest's name in gold foil. Beside each one, I had placed a sealed envelope. I waited until the wine had been poured, until the first course, lobster risotto, was served. Then I spoke. Before we eat, I'd like everyone to open the envelope in front of them. They looked at me confused. Then, one by one, they peeled open the paper. Lisa gasped first. Inside her envelope was a simple chart. 2 columns. Lisa's salary and Mandy's daily passive income. The second column dwarfed the first. At the bottom was a polite footnote. This is only from 2 of my 8 revenue streams. Her hands trembled as she folded the paper and put it down. Marcus's envelope held an email from 4 years ago, when I'd quietly reached out to his firm under an alias, offering an investment opportunity into Clarity Living. His reply, filled with corporate jargon, politely rejected the offer, stating, "Home services are not scalable." Below it was a note. That $100,000 opportunity would be worth $17.4 million today. He looked up at me, pale. Mandy, I didn't know it was you. I know, I said. That's why I never took it personally. Mom's envelope contained a list of every time I'd asked her and Dad to believe in me, to support an idea, to attend a gallery showing when I was cleaning to support my art, to co-sign a small loan for startup capital. All declined. Attached was a photo of my first office space. Modest, tiny, and completely self-funded. her eyes filled with tears. Dad's envelope was the thinnest, just a single sheet of paper, a screenshot of the Forbes front page. He stared at it for a long time, his jaw tight. Then he spoke, voice lower than usual. "I was wrong," he said. "I thought I knew everything, but I didn't know my own daughter." I met his eyes. "You saw what you wanted to see, Dad. A girl who didn't follow your rules. So instead of asking why, you assumed I was lost." He nodded slowly, and for the first time in my adult life, my father looked genuinely remorseful. Dinner passed with an unfamiliar quietness. No bragging, no lectures, just reflection. After dessert, chocolate souffle with a raspberry drizzle, I stood and walked to the large screen behind the table. "I want to show you one last thing," I said. The lights dimmed as a presentation began to play. Photos from my journey. Me cleaning homes. Me sleeping on the floor with books stacked around me. The tiny office where Clarity Living was born. My first company retreat. My first Forbes cover. My first apartment with central heat. Each image was matched with a headline. Some from the press, some from old emails and texts from my family. "You're wasting your life. Maybe try a community college next semester. Mandy needs to get real." Then the final frame appeared. A photo of me at age 23, smiling with my grandmother in our old kitchen side by side. Below it, "She believed in me when no one else did." I turned back to them. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. I'm not angry anymore. I don't need apologies, but I do need you to stop pretending I was ever less than. No one spoke for a long time. Then my mother stood and walked to me, tears silently streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Not just for not seeing you, but for not looking in the first place." I hugged her tightly. "Thank you. That's all I ever wanted." As the music swelled and the city sparkled behind us, I realized this wasn't just a dinner. It was a reckoning. And maybe the beginning of something new. A week had passed since the dinner at the Paramount, and the world hadn't stopped talking. Articles were still going viral. My inbox was overflowing with partnership requests, offers to write a memoir, podcast invites, investment proposals. I'd been named one of Forbes's most influential women of the year and was now booked for a keynote speech at a global innovation summit. But the spotlight wasn't what kept me awake at night. It was the stillness, the silence after the storm, the strange quiet that follows a lifetime of noise, of proving, of chasing something just to show others you could, and then realizing you've already arrived. I sat on the terrace of my brownstone, the one my family didn't know about. It was simpler than the penthouse. Quieter. Ivy on the walls, an old stone fountain bubbling gently nearby. My dog, a gentle old rescue named Luna, lay curled beside me. She didn't care about net worths or business empires, just that I was home. The phone buzzed beside me. It was a text from Dad. "Saw your TED Talk. You were incredible. Wish I'd listened to you sooner. Proud of you, Mandy. Truly." I stared at the message for a while, unsure how to respond. It didn't erase everything. The years of condescension, the disregard. But it was something. A start. A bridge being built, tentatively, but intentionally. A notification popped up. Forbes interview live in 20 minutes. I glanced at the clock. Just enough time. I walked inside and changed into a simple blouse and jeans. No stylists, no prep team, no designer heels. Just me. Because after everything, I'd finally earned the right to be fully myself, on camera or off. I joined the virtual call and the host greeted me with a grin. "Mandy Reese, thank you for being here." "Happy to," I replied. "We've had a huge response to your story," he continued. "Millions have watched your journey unfold. But one question keeps coming up. What made you keep going when everyone, especially your own family, seemed to doubt you?" I thought for a second, then smiled. "You don't need everyone to believe in you. Just one person. And sometimes that one person has to be you. He nodded. And if you could go back, say something to your younger self in that tiny apartment, cleaning houses, what would you tell her? I felt a lump rise in my throat. I'd tell her that it's okay to feel invisible, that sometimes invisibility is a gift. It lets you build without pressure, grow without judgment, and rise without interference. And when you're ready, when the time is right, you won't need to announce your success. You'll just arrive. And the world will have no choice but to see you. The interview ended, and I sat in the quiet again, letting it all sink in. That afternoon, I drove to the cemetery. I hadn't been in a while. The sun filtered through the trees as I stood in front of my grandmother's grave. I brushed a few fallen leaves off the headstone and placed fresh tulips in the vase beside it, her favorite. "Hi, Grandma," I said softly. "You were right. About everything." I pulled the original flyer for Clarity Living from my purse. The one I printed 10 years ago at a 24-hour copy shop, shaking with doubt and hope in equal measure. I placed it gently against the stone and whispered, "We made it." That night, back in the penthouse, I hosted a small dinner. Not for investors, not for press. Just friends. People who'd believed in me when I had nothing to offer but drive. My first employee. My best friend from college. Evelyn Kane, the woman who gave me the lean startup and saw a spark in the cleaning girl others overlooked. We laughed, shared wine, talked about the future. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had anything to prove. Later, as I looked out over the glittering skyline, my phone buzzed again. A new message in the family group chat. "Mom, next Sunday is our turn. Family dinner's at our place. You don't have to bring anything. Just you. And if it's okay, maybe you could tell us more about what you're building. We want to learn. Finally." I smiled. There was no victory parade, no explosion of confetti. Just quiet understanding. And a slow, steady unraveling of the old story they had written about me. Because I hadn't just changed my life. I had rewritten the narrative. From pathetic housekeeper to self-made mogul. From invisible daughter to unignorable force. And maybe, just maybe, the most powerful kind of revenge is simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be.